started my running journey last February, so February 2022, and I never expected it to have like the outcome. I never expected it to have the outcome that it has on me. I never expected it to push me in the way that it did and the way it does, and that's why I am so obsessed with challenging myself with goals that feel so big and scary. You know, like when I started running last year, I was doing like 7-30-minute Ks. You know, running has been such a big, incredible change for me in terms of like my perspective of hard, and it's been so life-changing in terms of like how it helps me to thrive on this level of resilience. And I have this drive inside of me that really pushes me to achieve incredible, you know, as much as I possibly can with myself. But the running allows me to really unleash that. Oh my God, what an incredible experience that half marathon was. I literally just wanted to do this video today to just talk back over and reflect over this sub 150 half marathon that I prepped for. Obviously the goal was to achieve something that I've never achieved before, and having now done 2 marathons, I did one last August and one this year in February, and I achieved sub 4 on the one in Dubai, the 3:57, and it's so interesting because I started my running journey last February, so February 2022, and I never expected it to have like the outcome. Pain and weakness leaving the body. Ready, the girls are there. I never expected it to have the outcome that it has on me. I never expected it to push me in the way that it did and the way it does, and that's why I am so obsessed with challenging myself with goals that feel so big and scary. You know, like when I started running last year, I was doing like 7-30-minute Ks, and now, you know, being able to sustain a 5:06 minute per kilometre for 21 kilometres is just absolutely out of this world. And you know, running has been such a big, incredible change for me in terms of like my perspective of hard. I can't believe it, I'm actually crying. It's been so much life-changing in terms of like how it helps me to thrive on this level of resilience, and I have this drive inside of me that really pushes me to achieve incredible, you know, as much as I possibly can with myself. But the running allows me to really unleash that in a way that's so positive for me, because I could, you know, you can unleash those things with business and things like that, but you know, they can always have like really challenging consequences. But for me with running, there is no negative outcome. Like this is something that I can thrive from like every single day, and it pushes me so far outside my comfort zone, and it's so challenging. And training for this half was so much harder than I ever thought it was going to be. It took its toll on me a lot, and the speed work was undoubtedly, you know, so challenging. And when I booked this half marathon, when I said that I would do a sub 150, I couldn't even run 1 kilometre at that pace without feeling literally like I was going to die. So this was such a big challenge for me, aiming to run a 150 half, and you know, managing that to obviously hit the 146 was, yeah, it was just absolutely amazing. So when I did my marathon in February, and my fastest half was like 1:58, and like, never ever did I think that I'd be able to shave off like 10 minutes, over 10 minutes, 12 minutes off of a half marathon, because it's such a big amount of time for actually like in relative like a smaller distance. And I think that's like pretty much what I took off my full marathon. So to do it in a half was like, fucking hell, like this is gonna be crazy. And when I did my marathon, it was so hard. Like running 5:40 minute per kilometre was so hard. So never in my life did I think that I'd be able to hold the 5:06. And in the lead up to the half marathon, I was feeling nervous, but I was feeling more excited than anything. I think because I've covered a distance that's greater. And the biggest bit of confidence that I had in myself was because I did the work in the prep. I trained so hard, so relentlessly, and so consistently. I turned up at every single opportunity possible. And you know, it's so important to me to do that, because in that prep, what you don't see is that I'm proving something to myself. This is not about the race day for me. It's not about the race day outcome. For me, this is about the prep getting there. It's about the discipline to do every single run. It's about the discipline to either run here in Dubai in the 40-degree heat, or to run in the UK in the pouring rain, in the wind. And that for me is a discipline. It's to run when I'm tired. It's to run when I'm busy. It's to turn up and to push myself faster and harder than I ever thought. And it's to, every run that I go through, I'm pushing myself so much further than I ever thought my capabilities were. And the running is the only thing in my life that challenges me like that. And I am so addicted to it because it helps me feel amazing, and it helps me push myself on a daily basis. And every single run builds up these building blocks of resilience I never thought I had. So in the lead up to this, like, I was feeling excited, I was feeling nervous, but you know, I was feeling like semi-confident, because I have done so much training for this and I've put in so much work to have the consistency of the outcome that I wanted. So it was really, really amazing, because I managed to, we ran this half marathon with my family. So first of all, my brother came with me, my mum, my stepdad, my brother and my stepdad were running. My brother was doing his first half marathon, which is incredible. My stepdad, actually, I trained him for the London Marathon in April, which is super inspiring. So we were doing it all as a family. My stepsister came, loads of the training runner clients came. So we actually went up to London the night before, and then we stayed in a hotel, and then we were literally like right next to it. And I literally did not realise how many people would be at this half marathon. It was so busy. There were 17,000 people running, which is absolutely mind blowing. I had no idea that many people would be running this half marathon. So it was a bit chaotic in the morning, to be honest with you. Like, I'd done my carb up, I was feeling good, I had loads of energy. I actually managed to sleep really well the night before as well, which, unlike my sub 4 marathon that I did, I only have 4 hours sleep the night before, whereas this one I had 8 hours sleep. So I was feeling pretty good, to be honest with you. But me and my brother actually turned up on the morning, and it was so busy. Like, you couldn't even get in the toilet, and the queue, like, for everything was like absolutely enormous. But I was in one of the first groups, so I literally just got going, you know, and it's a really, really weird feeling when you're standing like with thousands of people, and you're just standing there and you're like, it's a really weird feeling, because you think most of these people have worked really, really hard to be where they are today. Some people just turn up and hope for the best, and I'll be honest, I don't respect it, but it's, you know, fair play. But I love that running gives people something, you know, it gives so many people something, and it I don't know why, but it just feels like such a massive achievement when you run. And whether it's like when you run your first kilometre, it feels like the same achievement, like your first 5K feels like the same, as good as your 10K, and your 10K feels as good as your half marathon feels as good as your marathon, you know. And it doesn't matter like what milestone it is, like for each individual person, it feels so special. So there's such a lovely atmosphere there, and it gives me goosebumps thinking about it. And you're just standing there, and I was standing there, and my heart was racing, and I was a little bit nervous, but I was just thinking to myself, I was like, you've done the work, you've done the work, you've done the work. And for me, like, the most important things are always sticking to the strategy that I have had through the training. And that's the benefit of when you've done the training, is you know exactly what pace to go out, exactly what heart rate. I know where my capabilities are, I know my thresholds are, because I've trained for a fast marathon. I learn how to then train for a fast half. So yeah, it was really exciting. It was really nerve-wracking. Like, the atmosphere was amazing. And then we got going. So obviously before the race, I had my food. I had 2 hot cross buns of honey. It was lovely. And then throughout the race, my plan was to have 1 gel just before I went. So I took 1 gel, like, while I was waiting, and then I had some gels in between. So we got started, and like I said, like, you're literally like in this pen of people, and we start flowing through. And I was in group D or E, but I went in group D. He let us all go, and obviously like everybody's just like charging ahead. And like at this point, I'd programmed in on my watch like the sub 150 half. And really important to me, one thing that I would always tell other people is like, you're gonna want to run in the rush of everybody, but it's so important to hold yourself back. So I ran my first kilometre at like 5:30. Just to keep it a little bit slower, let my heart rate settle. And then I was really struggling to hold myself back as well. I think because the carb up, the training, I'd actually been really ill the week before. We think I had COVID the week before my race. I was really sick. So I hadn't really trained in like 2 weeks. I'd literally done like 3 5Ks, which for me, you know, I was bashing out 50-kilometer weeks before the run. So yeah, my feet touched the tarmac and they were just flying. They were flying. I felt unbelievable. I felt so fit, so fast, so light. And I was just running and I was like, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. And for me, like, just that moment, it feels so good. When you've done the training and you've done the work, it comes together like nothing else, because you can get to the end of a half marathon run, you can be like, yeah, it was okay. Or you can get to the end of a half marathon and be like, fucking smash that. And you know what, like, I'm really proud of it because I put the work in, but it just, like I said, for me, like, there's this emotion that comes over when I can hear my feet like on the floor, like when my feet touch the tarmac, fills my soul with joy, and I was just feeling it. It felt amazing, and I was literally just like overtaking everyone. I was like, no. And yeah, we were just like hitting a run through the course. Like it was great, and the course was like amazing. It was like super flat. There were like 2 little inclines in it. They got the heart rate pumping a little bit, but otherwise like it was great. And the atmosphere was unbelievable, because like as you ran over like London Tower Bridge, you know, I took a video of it. People were just like lined up down the sides, and just that atmosphere just uplifts you as a runner so much. And every time I ran past people, I was looking at my watch and it was like, slow down, you're doing 4:30 minutes per kilometer. And I was like, fuck. But it just felt so good. And my heart rate was absolutely battering me at like 182. But I just felt so good. Like my heart rate was high, but I actually did feel really, really good. And normally I wouldn't take my heart rate that high, because I know that it's what we would call, like, you have a thing called a threshold. So if you go over a threshold, generally you can't sustain it, which is why some people run too fast too soon. They can't handle it because they're not adapted to it, and then they have to pull back and then they really struggle. So for me, I'm really aware of my thresholds, and for me, I can't sustain much past like a 450 for very long. So I was saving that bad boy for the end. So yeah, the run, like, in all honesty, it felt great, and I had more in the tank for sure, but for me, I'm very regimented. Like when I do my training, I stick to my runs. I stick to my paces. What is in my program, I do. I don't do any different. So for me, I trained so much at that specific pace, and I really wanted to hold that. And obviously the goal into the public was like sub 150, but subconsciously I had understood that I would be able to do a 506. I thought in my head that would, for me, that would become the stretch goal. So the goal of the 150 half, like, it became apparent when I did a 17K at 506, that I had exceeded the ability to do the 150, because obviously a half is 21 kilometers. So I think for me, like, within myself, I said, like, come on, like, if I wanted to do a 150, it would be 5:12 minutes per kilometer, and I was running at 5:06. So I said to myself subconsciously, like, you need to push for the 5:06 minute per kilometer, faster than I had been training for. And yeah, in my head, I had that in my head, and every kilometer that go past on my watch, it was telling me my pace, and averagely I was working it out. Obviously there were some slightly slower than others because of inclines and things like that. But then there were some kilometers in the 440s. So yeah, every kilometer was going past, and I was waiting and wondering for when I was going to hit a wall, potentially, even though I'd trained not to, my nutrition strategy was there. And yeah, I was waiting, and it wasn't coming. And I had a couple of gels, I dropped one, so I only ended up having 3.5. About 16 kilometers, I had the most incredible stitch I've ever had in my life. I have never had a stitch when I'm running before, ever. And all of a sudden, I think it was a stitch, my stomach was cramping. I was struggling to stand up, but I was like, you ain't fucking stopping. I was not stopping, I do not stop. If you watch my last video, I was prepared to pee my pants in my marathon, because you train so hard for that day that ultimately something is gonna happen, but I wasn't letting a stomach ache got me. So I was running with my hands on my stomach, like tensing in like this, absolutely squeezing my stomach in, and just trying to take really deep breaths, opening my chest and just hoping for the best. And I ran past like an ambulance bit, and she shouted, "Have you got a stitch?" And I was like, "I've got a stomach ache." She said, "Keep your chest up, deep breaths." So I kept doing it, I was squeezing my stomach, and eventually it went away, but it didn't go away until about kilometer 20. So for about 4 or 5K, I had a really bad stomach cramp, and I tried to have more of my gel, and my stomach just went like that. And I was like, fuck, I needed that gel. So I only had 3.5 gels in the end when I was actually gonna have 5. So 5 is what I would personally suggest, especially for a high intensity half marathon, because average heart rate was so high, intensity was high. The nutrition is everything. So for me, nutrition is, one of the, I'm very aware, obviously, as a coach, it's one of the biggest limitations for most people, is why people don't successfully finish half marathons and marathons, running, is one, they're underfueled, and two, they're undertrained. So for me, obviously that wasn't, it wasn't an option, same with our clients, we make sure that everybody's fueled and prepped and ready to go. So yeah, it was feeling pretty good. It was really, really hot. There were a couple of people who were like wrapped up like burritos by the side of the road. Like the atmosphere was amazing. Like I said, there was water coming over the road. The fire station had it over. But honestly, like I'd be lying if I told you that it was hard. It wasn't. It actually wasn't. I was so surprised at myself and felt really good. And as I got more towards like the 20K, like naturally you get this like anticipation where your heart rate starts to get a bit higher, and obviously you get a little bit nervous about crossing the finish line. And like I could see there was like a final hill, and this man was like 1 kilometer to go, and I was like, oh. And it's literally like these butterflies just like race through your chest, like up into your throat, and you're like, it all comes into like one bit of emotion for you. But it always does that for me. Like at the end of each like race pace run that I've done for my prep, you might have seen in my stories, like I've had a couple of, like I always cry because it is so emotional for me, because it's unexplainable. Like when you put so much work in, so much time, so much effort, so much energy, like I pay attention to all 1%. I look after my recovery. I stick to my paces like to the T. Like I don't not do them. I do every single run. I do everything that I possibly can because I'm so passionate about this. And when it all comes together, and when I run at 5:06 minutes per kilometer, for me, it doesn't feel real, and it feels like my watch is wrong and I'm not doing it, because it just feels so unbelievable to have been able to go from where I was at 7:30s last Feb to this in this September after like a year and a half. And it means so much to me because I'm so passionate about what I do, and when you're crossing the finish line, it's just such an incredible moment. And I went over the brow of this hill, and then that was it. Like you just saw this like wave of people like screaming, and I had this song that I listened to a lot at the end, and it just makes me cry so much. But it's just so emotional. Like it's just such a proud moment. And when you do that, like that's why, we encourage our clients to, pursue the things that scare the life out of them, because running was something that I never thought I'd be able to do, and I never thought I'd be successful at it. I literally never, ever, ever thought I would be running as fast as I am now. It just wasn't. And the exciting thing is like it's just the start, which makes me so happy. So yeah, I ran around the corner. I could see floods of people. I knew that Simon was there somewhere because I was texting him as I was running. I was texting him pictures of me. Like I was like, oh, I'm so hot. I'll put it on here. It's so funny because it was roasting. But I was like, oh, it's hot. And then I was letting him know when I was coming, because we wait for each other at the end of races. He was there for me at both of my marathons. I was there for him waiting at the end of his Ironman as well. And I ran part of his Ironman with him and things like that. So we wait for each other at the end of our races, and my mum was there as well. And I turned the corner and I was absolutely sending it. I was a 4-minute K, it was well underway. I was giving it everything because I felt fucking amazing. And I was just literally like cheering. And then I literally, so lucky, like looked to the left and I saw them. I saw my mum, I saw Simon, and my mum was screaming, and I put my hands up and I was like, yeah. And yeah, it's just such an incredible moment when you get to see your family and and your boyfriend and stuff like that right at the end. And it was just amazing. I crossed the finish line, I had some tears, but obviously the difficult thing at the end of a race like this is it's so big that you don't get to just see the people that you want to see straight after. So yeah, I had an emotional stroll back, and the most amazing part of this whole day was the fact that we had all of our clients, not all of our clients, we had a bunch of our clients running it. And I finished, and it was like 15 minutes, I found Simon, and I stood there, and then I heard, Anna, and it was, first up was our incredible client Lucy. She had also done a sub 150 half. She was literally a minute behind me. She'll be damned about that, but I'm like, and just seeing her face full of joy and pride, and that was her first ever like official half marathon. And I've been training her since February, and she's so frigging quick. And just seeing her face filled with joy and feeling so proud of herself, it literally like it's such a gift for us to, one, be able to run, and then two, be able to coach these incredible women to do that. And you know, the most incredible thing about this day was just the end. You know, every single time someone finished, everyone finished differently because we all had stage starts, and then somebody else would come through. Then Victoria came through, and it was amazing seeing her hit her own goal. She did a sub 2.5, and you know, just then seeing our clients like streaming in, and we all got to spend that time together, and we were out in the sun, we were enjoying ourselves, and just seeing each person's face, and we all had totally different goals. One of our clients the goal was sub 3 hours. Mine was sub 150, but it didn't matter about the time. It was just literally about the fact that we were all so proud of ourselves for achieving what we had achieved. And that's what's so incredible about running, is that there's no point being in competition with other people, because, you know, genetically as well, and you know, the available time we've got and energy we can put into things means that we all achieve different things. But this is what's so great about running, is you can just really push yourself to be the best. You're never going to be the best runner. No one's ever going to be Kachobi. But the atmosphere of it and the ability that you have, that to do something to make yourself so proud, like running will give you that. If you're looking for this thing that will give you that like completion of feeling so content and happy in yourself, like running is your way forward. And it's just, you know, it's changed my life for the better. And I think just like in a summary of the whole day, like in order to succeed, you have to push yourself out your comfort zones. And it's so easy to look at people and be like, oh, it's easy for her, it's easy for them. And you know, I would just let you know that, like, I never used to run. I used to be petrified in the gym. I didn't ever look after myself. And the only way that I've got here today is that every time something scares me or gives me fear or makes me feel uncomfortable, I now run headfirst at it, because I now understand how great it feels and how much I can achieve in my life. And if you shy away from everything that feels uncomfortable, scares you, makes you nervous, if it's too hot outside, or you're scared to run outside, you're scared to go to the gym because of what other people think, you're only holding yourself back based off of a belief that you don't know is true. You know, you don't know that yet. So all that I would say to you is like, get up and give it a go, and go and do something that scares the life out of you.
The donut was more important. Did you get that on film as well? 2, 3. And again.
My legs are cramping.
1, 2, 3. And quad. You see Danny running?